Commander Jaiwo Park stood at the window of her apartment, watching rain streak down the glass. The city of New Seoul glowed below, its lights blurred by the storm. Her coffee had gone cold on the table behind her. She hadn't moved for nearly 20 minutes, not since the message arrived. The holographic notification still hovered in the air above her desk. Official. Urgent. From the United Earth Government. The kind of message that changed lives. Her comm device chimed again. Fourth call in the last hour. Probably Ninji from the diplomatic office, wondering why she hadn't responded yet. Jaiwo sighed and finally turned away from the window. Accept call, she said. Minji's worried face appeared in the air. Commander Park. Thank goodness. Did you receive the summons? I did. And? The council needs your answer. The Concordat representatives are waiting. Jaiwo picked up her cold coffee and took a sip, grimacing at the taste. They're asking me to defend our entire species, Ninji. To convince advanced alien civilizations that humans deserve a place among the stars. That's why they chose you. Your work on the Mars Peace Accords was entirely different. Those were human disputes. This is... Jaiwo gestured at the formal document floating before her. This is asking me to stand before beings who've been traveling between stars for thousands of years and convince them we're not dangerous children. The Galactic Concordat had made contact with Earth only 18 months ago, shortly after humans had successfully tested their first faster-than-light drive. The aliens had arrived in massive ships, representatives of 27 different species, all members of an interstellar alliance that governed most of the known galaxy. At first, people celebrated. Humanity wasn't alone. Then came the growing realization, the Concordat wasn't offering friendship. They were conducting an assessment. Minji's voice softened. Jaiwo, I know it's overwhelming. But the transport leaves in 6 hours, and you need to be on it. Jaiwo closed her eyes. She thought of her family, her father in the countryside, her brother and his children. She thought of all the families across Earth, looking up at the stars with new understanding of how small they truly were. I'll be ready, she said finally. The diplomatic vessel Harmony waited at the orbital station, sleek and silver against Earth's blue curve. Jaiwo arrived with only a small bag. She wouldn't need much where she was going. Captain Taeho Kim met her at the airlock. He was younger than she expected, with kind eyes that contrasted with his formal uniform. Commander Park, welcome aboard. Your quarters are prepared. He hesitated. It's an honor to transport Earth's representative to Nexus Prime. Thank you, Captain, Jaiwo replied, following him through the ship's gleaming corridors. How long until we reach the jump point? 4 hours to the edge of the solar system. Then the Concordat's jump technology will activate. They've modified our ship for the journey. The statement hung between them. Earth hadn't mastered instantaneous space travel yet. The aliens had installed the technology on the human vessel without sharing how it worked. One of many reminders of the power imbalance between Earth and the Concordat. Jaiwo's quarters were small but comfortable. A viewport showed Earth growing smaller as they ascended to higher orbit. She placed her hand against the cool glass, saying a silent goodbye. Her personal device chimed. A message from Director Hyun of the Diplomatic Corps, containing the full briefing files on the tribunal. Jaiwo settled onto the bed and opened them. The Galactic Tribunal had been convened only 12 times in the Concordat's 10,000-year history. Each time to determine whether a new species would be granted access to interstellar space or confined to their home system. 3 species had failed their tribunals. Their fate was listed as development containment, a polite term for quarantine, enforced by Concordat monitoring stations around their systems. A knock at her door interrupted her reading. A young crew member stood outside with a meal tray. Commander, Captain Kim thought you might be hungry. Jaiwo realized she hadn't eaten since yesterday. Thank you. The crew member lingered. Is it true, Commander? That the aliens might not let us leave our solar system if you don't convince them? Jaiwo saw the fear in the young woman's eyes. That's what the tribunal will decide. But we've overcome challenges before. After the crew member left, Jaiwo returned to the files. She studied the known members of the Concordat, the logical Valerians, the ancient Mazarians, the collective intelligence of the Quartz Dominion. Each had strengths humans could barely comprehend, technologies that seemed like magic. And each had voiced concerns about humanity. Hours passed as the harmony accelerated toward the edge of the solar system. Jaiwo was still reading when Captain Kim's voice came over the intercom. Commander Park, please come to the bridge. We're approaching the jump point. The bridge was a flurry of activity when she arrived. Through the main viewport, nothing but darkness and distant stars. Are we ready? She asked. Captain Kim nodded. The Concordat device has activated. We're receiving coordinates from Nexus Prime Station. A low hum filled the ship, building slowly. Lights flickered and dimmed. Captain, power fluctuations across all systems, called out a worried technician. Normal for jump preparation, Kim assured them, though his voice betrayed his own uncertainty. None of them had experienced this before. The humming grew louder. Jaiwo gripped a railing as the ship began to vibrate. Jump in 10 seconds, announced the navigation officer. Jaiwo looked at the faces around her, humans about to make their first leap between stars. Not through their own achievement, but as passengers on alien technology. 3, 2, 1. Reality shifted. Jaiwo felt stretched, compressed, turned inside out. For an instant that seemed eternal, she existed everywhere and nowhere. Then it was over. The ship stabilized. Through the viewport, unfamiliar stars shone. And dominating the view, a massive structure like nothing human eyes had seen before. Nexus Prime. The heart of the Concordat. A space station the size of a small moon, glowing with power, surrounded by thousands of ships from across the galaxy. We've arrived, Captain Kim whispered, awe in his voice. Jaiwo's device chimed with an incoming transmission. Text only, in perfect standard English. Human vessel harmony. Proceed to docking bay 7842. Tribunal preparations commence in 6 hours. Representative Park will be escorted to orientation. As the ship moved toward the station, a small shuttle detached from the massive structure and approached them. Jaiwo received another message. Representative Park. I am Coordinator Eka of the Navi. I will serve as your guide during the tribunal process. Prepare for immediate transfer. Jaiwo looked back at Captain Kim. It seems my escort has arrived. Good luck, Commander, he said softly. We'll be watching from here. The whole Earth will be watching. Jaiwo nodded, feeling the weight of 7 billion lives on her shoulders. In a few hours, she would stand before the most powerful beings in the galaxy and make the case for humanity's future among the stars. The fate of her species would depend on her words. The Nexus Prime Station hummed with strange energies that Jaiwo could feel through the soles of her boots. Her guide, Eka of the Navi, led her through corridors that seemed to shift and change. The small, gray-skinned alien moved with quick steps, glancing back occasionally to ensure Jaiwo kept pace. The tribunal chamber is at the heart of the station, Eka explained. Few outsiders have seen it. Jaiwo tried to focus on memorizing their path, but the station's architecture defied human logic. Passages curved impossibly. Gravity shifted subtly between sections. Light sources had no visible origin. How many species live on this station? She asked, noticing the diverse beings they passed. Some resembled animals from Earth, upright felines, insectoid creatures, beings like walking plants. Others defied categorization entirely. Representatives from all 27 Concordat members maintain delegations here, Eka replied. Plus diplomatic missions from 43 non-member species. You humans are the newest arrivals. They stopped before a massive door that appeared to be made of flowing liquid metal. Eka placed a 6-fingered hand against it, and the surface rippled. The tribunal will begin shortly. I must warn you, the prosecution is led by Ambassador Mock of the Valerians. He has argued against 5 species in previous tribunals. 3 were contained. Jaiwu swallowed hard. What should I expect? They will attempt to provoke an emotional response. To prove humans are ruled by feelings rather than logic. Ekka's large eyes blinked slowly. And remember, everything you say reflects on your entire species. The liquid metal door parted, revealing the vast chamber beyond. Jaiwu stepped inside and tried not to gasp. The tribunal chamber was a perfect circle, hundreds of meters across. Tiered seating rose in concentric rings, filled with beings of countless forms. At the center was a platform of white material that glowed with soft light. Facing it was a raised dais where 7 figures sat, the High Arbiters, representatives of the oldest Concordat species. Approached the speaking platform, human, came a voice in Jaiwu's mind. One of the High Arbiters, a being with translucent skin that revealed shifting colors beneath, had spoken without sound. Jaiwu walked forward, conscious of thousands of alien eyes watching her every move. The platform hummed beneath her feet as she stepped onto it. This tribunal is now in session, announced another arbiter, this one resembling a tall, willowy figure composed of crystalline segments. The matter, whether species designation human, planet of origin Earth, shall be permitted interstellar travel rights or placed under development containment. Ambassador Mok will present the case for restriction. From an entrance opposite Jaiwu's, a figure emerged. The Valerian stood over 2 meters tall, with metallic blue skin and 4 arms. No visible eyes, just smooth skin where they should be. Yet Jaiwu felt its attention fixed on her. Esteemed arbiters, representatives of the Concordat, Mok began, voice resonating perfectly through the chamber. I present evidence that humans are unsuited for participation in the greater galactic community at this time. A holographic display appeared above the chamber, showing Earth from space. The image zoomed in, revealing cities, then conflicts, scenes of war, protest, environmental destruction. Since our observation probes began monitoring Earth 3 centuries ago, humans have engaged in 112 armed conflicts, Mok stated. They have driven thousands of their own planet's species to extinction. They have altered their climate to dangerous levels before taking corrective action. The images shifted rapidly, tanks rolling through cities, forests burning, oceans filled with plastic waste. Even their entertainment celebrates violence, Mok continued as the display showed action movies, violent video games, news broadcasts of conflicts. They simulate warfare for pleasure. Throughout the ship, passengers watched the unfolding drama on their screens. The security system was broadcasting the engineering section to keep people informed, though the audio was muted to prevent panic. They could see Tae-won working with the engineering team but couldn't hear the concerning discovery he had just made. In the evacuation area, Jian stood transfixed by the nearest screen. He had abandoned his place at the front of the line, no longer shouting about his diplomatic importance. Instead, he watched in stunned silence as the man he had ridiculed now worked to save everyone aboard. That can't really be the Tae-won Park, he muttered to no one in particular. The hero of Proxima wouldn't travel in civilian clothes without an entourage. An older human woman nearby overheard him. Captain Park has always been known for his modesty. My husband served under him during the Centauri conflict. Said he was the most brilliant officer in the fleet but never wanted recognition. Jisoo moved through the crowd, trying to maintain order. Please continue boarding the emergency pods in an orderly fashion. This is still a precautionary measure. Despite her calm words, worry showed clearly on her face as she glanced at the screen showing engineering. The situation was growing more dire by the minute. Back in engineering, Tae-won was now underneath a control panel, rewiring circuits with skilled hands. His face showed intense concentration as he worked. Captain Park, radiation levels are climbing, warned one of the technicians. You should seal your helmet. Not yet, Tae-won replied without looking up. I need clear visibility for this. The ship's captain appeared on the main communication screen. Engineering, what's your status? The bridge sensors show containment dropping below 15%. Engineer Sung stepped into view. Captain, we're working on a solution. Captain Park is attempting to rewrite the quantum alignment protocols manually. Captain Park? The ship's captain's face showed confusion, then recognition. The Taewon Park? The designer of the TDF-9 containment system? The same, Engineer Sung confirmed. He was traveling as a passenger. The ship's captain looked visibly relieved. Thank the stars. If anyone can fix this, he can. He paused, then added, we're prepared to jettison the core if necessary, but that would leave us stranded in deep space. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Taewon said, emerging from beneath the panel with several wires in his hands. I'm bypassing the compromised controls and creating a direct link to the quantum regulators. Through the ship's internal cameras, passengers watched as Taewon worked with remarkable speed and precision. What most viewers couldn't understand was the extreme risk he was taking. By bypassing safety protocols and working directly with the quantum systems, he was exposing himself to potentially lethal radiation. In the evacuation area, Dr. Yoon explained the situation to those around her. He's manually recalibrating the quantum field. One wrong calculation and... She didn't finish the sentence. Jian, listening nearby, felt a growing sense of horror. But why would he take such a risk? Especially after. His voice trailed off, unable to complete the thought. After you treated him like dirt? Dr. Yin finished for him, her silver eyes cold. That's what heroes do, Representative Jian. They save people, even the ones who don't deserve it. The Arcturian diplomat had no response. He simply stared at the screen, his earlier arrogance replaced by shame. In engineering, the situation was reaching a critical point. Taewon's hands moved with practiced precision as he connected the final circuits of his bypass system. Field alignment stabilizing at 12%, reported a technician. Still far below safe parameters, but the decline has stopped. Taewon nodded, sweat visible on his forehead. Now we need to rebuild the field gradually. Too fast and we'll trigger another cascade. Radiation levels are exceeding safety parameters, warned Engineer Sung. Everyone needs to evacuate this section immediately. You should go, Taewon agreed. I'll remain to monitor the rebuild. But sir, the radiation. I've been exposed to worse, Taewon said with a small smile. During the Proxima campaign, I spent 3 days in a damaged shuttle with a leaking core. This is nothing by comparison. Throughout the ship, passengers and crew watched as the engineering team reluctantly evacuated, leaving only Taewon behind. The screen showed him moving between control stations, making adjustments and checking readings as the containment field slowly strengthened. Containment at 20% and rising, came the automated announcement. Critical failure averted. A collective sigh of relief rippled through the evacuation area. People hugged each other, some crying with relief. Only Jian remained motionless, still watching the screen with an unreadable expression. Attention all passengers, came the captain's voice over the intercom. The containment crisis has been stabilized. While we will continue with evacuation procedures as a precaution, immediate danger has passed. This is thanks to the extraordinary efforts of Captain Taewon Park, who happened to be traveling with us. Some of you may recognize that name. The screens throughout the ship switched to display Taewon's military service record. Photos showed him receiving the highest honors from 3 different planetary governments. Text scrolled listing his achievements, the innovative containment systems he had designed, the lives he had saved during the Centauri conflict, his role in establishing peace with the Proximan coalition. Captain Park is the reason antimatter drive technology became safe enough for civilian use, the captain continued. Without his innovations, modern interstellar travel would not be possible. And today, he has saved this ship and everyone aboard. Passengers stared at the screens in awe, many only now understanding the significance of the quiet man in simple clothes who had been sitting among them. In the first-class cabin, which had been evacuated but was still visible on the security monitors, Jian's luxury bag lay abandoned on his seat. Beside it was Taewon's worn book of poetry, left behind in the rush to engineering. The contrast between the two men's possessions seemed to tell the whole story. One valued material symbols of status and power, while the other carried wisdom and knowledge that could save lives in a crisis. 3 hours later, when the emergency lights finally switched to normal illumination, there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere aboard the celestial horizon. Every passenger now knew who Taewon Park really was. And none felt the weight of this revelation more heavily than Representative Jian of the Arcturian Commerce Guild, who had not spoken a single word since learning the truth. The gentle hum of the celestial horizon's engines had returned to normal as passengers filed back into the first-class cabin. The emergency was over. Captain Taewon Park had successfully repaired the sabotaged antimatter containment system, saving everyone aboard the luxury starship. The evacuation had been cancelled, and the journey to Proxima Colony would continue as planned, though with heightened security as the crew investigated who might have tampered with the ship's systems. Most passengers returned to find their belongings exactly as they had left them during the evacuation. Taewon's worn poetry book still lay on his empty seat, while across the aisle, Jian's elaborate travel bag remained untouched. The Arcturian diplomat hesitated at the entrance to the cabin, his normally confident posture now stiff with discomfort. "Will Captain Park be returning to the passenger area?" Jian asked Jisoo in an unusually subdued voice. The flight attendant arranged fresh bedding in Taewon's pod. "Yes, after he's cleared by medical. The radiation exposure was significant, but the doctor says he'll be fine with treatment." Jian nodded and slowly made his way to his seat. The other first-class passengers watched him with undisguised disapproval. The arrogant diplomat who had demanded special treatment and insulted others now seemed diminished, avoiding eye contact with everyone. "I heard he directly connected himself to the quantum regulator circuit," whispered one of the business executives to his companion. "Could have killed him instantly if he made one wrong calculation." "My father served with him during the Proxima campaign," replied the other. Said Captain Park once held a containment breach closed with his bare hands while his team evacuated. Got third-degree burns all over his arms but never complained. Similar conversations took place throughout the cabin as passengers shared what they knew about the legendary captain. Stories of his heroism, his brilliant engineering innovations, and his modest refusal of fame circulated freely. 3 hours after the crisis ended, the cabin door slid open. Conversation immediately stopped as Taewon Park entered, now dressed in fresh but equally simple clothes. His hands were wrapped in medical bandages, and a slight redness on his face suggested radiation exposure, but he walked steadily. The ship's captain accompanied him, showing a level of respect rarely seen toward a passenger. "I want to personally thank you again, Captain Park," the ship's captain said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Without your intervention, we would have lost the ship and everyone aboard." Taewon nodded politely. "Your engineering team was excellent. They would have found a solution even without my help." "That's generous of you to say, but we both know the truth." The ship's captain shook Taewon's bandaged hand carefully before departing. As Taewon made his way toward his seat, passengers rose to their feet spontaneously. Applause broke out, spreading through the cabin. Several people reached out to touch his arm or shoulder as he passed, murmuring thanks. Dr. Yun bowed deeply in the Proximan gesture of highest respect. Taewon acknowledged the applause with a small nod but seemed uncomfortable with the attention. When he reached his pod, he found it filled with small gifts, bottles of wine, boxes of premium chocolates, handwritten notes of gratitude. He moved these carefully to the side table and reclaimed his poetry book. Across the aisle, Jian remained seated, watching this procession with an unreadable expression. When the applause finally died down and others returned to their seats, an uncomfortable silence fell between the two men. The contrast could not have been more striking, the humble hero and the arrogant diplomat who had belittled him. Finally, Jian spoke, his voice lacking its usual imperious tone. "Captain Park, I wish to express my profound apologies for my earlier behavior. Had I known. Had you known who I was, you would have treated me differently," Taewon finished calmly. "Perhaps the lesson is to treat everyone with respect, regardless of who you think they might be." Jian's blue skin darkened with embarrassment. "You are right, of course. My behavior was inexcusable." Jisoo approached with a tray holding a cup of tea for Taewon. Her manner had transformed completely, where before she had been professionally polite, she now showed deep respect bordering on reverence. "Your tea, Captain Park," she said softly. The doctor recommended this blend to help with radiation exposure. Thank you, Jisoo, Taewon replied with a warm smile. After she left, Jian leaned forward slightly. I would like to make amends, Captain. The Arcturian Commerce Guild has significant resources. We could offer you. No need, Taewon interrupted gently. I require nothing. But surely there must be something I can do to compensate for my disrespect, Jian persisted. Taewon took a sip of tea before responding. If you wish to make amends, Representative Jian, perhaps consider how you treat those you believe have no power or status. Especially those who serve you. Jian fell silent, absorbing this suggestion. For perhaps the first time in his diplomatic career, the Arcturian found himself without a prepared response. The remainder of the journey proceeded peacefully. Taewon returned to his reading, though he was frequently interrupted by passengers wanting to express their gratitude or ask for his signature. He accommodated each request with patience and humility. Jian, meanwhile, underwent a visible transformation. The passengers and crew noticed with surprise that he no longer demanded special treatment. He thanked Jisoo when she brought his meals. When he accidentally dropped a datapad that was retrieved by a young crew member, he expressed genuine gratitude. Small changes, perhaps, but remarkable for someone who had previously behaved with such entitlement. On the final day of their journey, as the celestial horizon approached Proxima Colony, a small ceremony was held in the ship's main lounge. The captain presented Taewon with a crystal plaque commemorating his actions in saving the vessel. Though clearly uncomfortable with the recognition, Taewon accepted graciously. After the ceremony, as passengers mingled and enjoyed refreshments, a young Proximan child approached Taewon. The boy, no more than 7 years old, had silver eyes that shone with admiration as he held out a digital pad. Would you sign this, Captain Park? He asked shyly. My father says you saved his homeworld. He was just a baby during the Proxima campaign, but his parents told him stories about you. Taewon smiled genuinely and knelt to the child's level, taking the pad. What's your name, young man? Jean, the boy replied. I want to be an engineer like you when I grow up. That's an excellent choice, Jean, Taewon said as he signed the pad. The universe always needs more builders than destroyers. From across the lounge, Jian watched this interaction. Something in the Arcturian's expression had softened considerably since the beginning of their journey. When an assistant approached him with urgent messages from the Commerce Guild, Jian waved him away, his eyes still on Taewon and the child. It can wait, the diplomat said. Some things are more important than trade negotiations. As the celestial horizon docked at Proxima Colony, passengers prepared to disembark. In the first-class cabin, Taewon gathered his few belongings, including the poetry book that had accompanied him throughout the journey. Jian approached him one last time. Captain Park, I hope our paths cross again someday. Under better circumstances. I would like that, Representative Jian, Taewon replied with a small nod. I've been thinking about what you said, the Arcturian continued, uncharacteristically hesitant. About how we treat those we believe have no power or status. You've given me much to consider. Taewon smiled. Safe travels, Representative. As passengers disembarked, crew members lined the exit pathway, standing at attention as Taewon passed. Outside the ship, news of what had happened had spread throughout the spaceport. A small crowd had gathered, hoping to catch a glimpse of the legendary captain. Taewon slipped through a side exit, avoiding the attention. He preferred the quiet anonymity he had enjoyed at the beginning of the journey. But he had left something important behind, an impression on every person aboard the Celestial Horizon, especially on an Arcturian diplomat who had learned that true worth was measured not by wealth or title, but by character and deeds.